Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Watch Darius TV. I am back with another review, and this is in honor of Halloween. I decided to do a review of a latest horror movie, and that is of The Boogeyman that came out this year. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video for all things of the latest movies that come out. Let's begin. This movie Boogeyman was it was an interesting one here. I'm not usually a fan of horror, but this was a PG-13 movie, so obviously this is a little bit more not going to be crazy or anything over the top. This is going to be more of a low-key, relaxed type of horror, I guess you can say. The movie starts with like this little girl named Annie. She's in her crib and she's getting like scared by like this boogeyman type of creature thing. And it's clearly what the movie's about, boogeyman. But the movie's basically around this father and his daughters. Basically, they're dealing with the death of the mother that passed within their family. Will, he's a therapist. He's the father, and he has two daughters named Sadie and Sawyer, which I've never heard of a little girl named Sawyer before. That's usually always been a surname. But anyway, and like I said, they're dealing with the death of their mother and stuff like that. Sadie gets picked on by like a couple of kids on her first day back to school. One of the kids, like some, I don't know, some girl like a fake Paris Hilton or something like that. But she's getting picked on, and one of her friends is there to sort of help her. She knows she's dealing with the grief of her mother, and one of the girls who's the fake Paris Hilton, she ends up ruining, Sadie's dress that she was wearing that was in honor of her mom, and it's just a completely horrible first day back. Will, he's also a therapist, and he has a patient that comes to talk to him, and his name is Lester. Lester is scared of some type of thing in the closet, which is clearly the boogeyman. So he's been haunted by this type of creature thing. Lester says that he has three kids who have also passed away, and I'm assuming that's clearly from the boogeyman creature. And it seems it was from the drawing he also made of this creature thing that's been haunting him, and that also took his children away. Will calls the authorities on Lester because he thinks that Lester just completely losing his mind. Sadie ends up coming home from school and she sees there's like a complete mess, like paint is just splattered everywhere in one room, and there's this weird noise. Then Will and Sadie see that Lester has basically hung himself. The boogeyman just pretty much, I'm assuming, just drove this dude completely insane and made him off himself. Sadie claims she heard noises from the closet, that Lester was inside of when she tells the cops what was going on. So, it gives suspicion as to what is this thing, what was going on. I personally believe they should have called the Winchester brothers, but that's for another time. Anyway, Sawyer gets scared by the boogeyman under her bed and she falls over and hurts herself. I thought she possibly like broke an arm or something, but I'm guessing she hurt her tooth or something. This kid spends most of this movie getting just completely hurled around. I don't know. She's able to take a lot more pain than the average grown man. I mean, this girl spends most of this movie getting thrown around, knocked out, but she can handle it though. The girl is tough. She's taking more than her sister, that's for sure. But anyway, Sadie helps Sawyer get her tooth sort of pulled out, sort of that old school way of tying the like a little wire, whatever, like that, like a string around a kid's tooth, and you close the door. So she tries to do that with Sadie, but the boogeyman just basically shoves the door closed and yanks the girl's tooth out, scares the little girl. Like I said, she goes through a lot throughout this movie, this little girl. Later on that night, the boogeyman even takes the tooth and pulls into a closet. And we're going to see that tooth again, but that was really creepy for the boogeyman thing to be doing that. But anyway, the therapist talks to Sadie and Sawyer about the dark things that they're seeing and stuff like that to help them out with whatever type of trauma they're going through. The therapist does this like type of light test where they keep them in the dark and have like this red light glowing, which I think is really creepy. I don't know what type of test you can do with a child that involves the being in a dark room with a red light. That just seems really scary. But anyway, this is a horror movie, so what do you expect? So they're in a dark room, and Sawyer, she's completely scared of the dark. Of course, she's like about maybe 10 or 11 years old, and she sees the boogeyman again. So also this girl gets a lot of psychological horror too. This little girl got to go through, and that's what she goes through during this weird little therapy test, which does not help at all. Will thinks that the therapist cannot help them, and he's just trying to basically just avoid, I think talking about his wife and all the other stuff like that. He's just trying to just basically knock all this stuff to the side. Sadie tries to find more info on Lester as Sawyer is basically just like, creeping through the house with the boogeyman just stalking behind her. Sadie ends up hearing Lester just completely losing his mind over the voice recorder, that he was having with the session that she was having with her father. And he just completely losing it. It kind of reminded me of that voice recorder scene from Sixth Sense, I guess. But she gets completely scared and flips out and tosses the voice recorder into some water. So she goes to fix it because her dad would probably freak out. So Sadie, she's listening to that, and I think she also sees her first glimpse of the boogeyman in her kitchen. Before Sadie walks in on her and says, "Hey," before Sawyer walks in and says, "Yo, you were pranking me." Sadie Sawyer thought that Sadie was pranking her because she was going through the house being stalked by this boogeyman creature. She even has her little ball of light get broken and stuff like that. She's just completely scared. So the boogeyman even has the two sisters bickering, thinking that, that Sawyer was getting pranked and all sorts of stuff like that. So basically, we see the boogeyman is closing in on the family. Sadie goes to Lester's old home and sees like dark vines growing throughout his old house, and she meets Lester's wife, and she tells Sadie that basically it will follow her everywhere until they are pretty much all gone, until the whole family's wiped out, like how her family was wiped out. Her children were taken along with her husband. She lives in like this like lit house. It looks like it's falling apart. There's candles everywhere. This is the only way to keep the boogeyman away is through light. And the boogeyman, like I said, basically just wiped out her whole family and drove her insane. So Sadie learns more about this creature. She claims the boogeyman is behind her. Lester's wife is completely losing her mind, and she takes a shotgun and starts shooting, and Sadie just completely gets up out of there. So, and there's that. And Sadie goes home and is attacked by the boogeyman, but it ends up being all a dream. So this thing is good at, I guess, toying with the mind. She goes home and, she's having a vision of closing the door. Then a creature runs through and ends up jumping inside of her mouth. And then she wakes up and finds out it was all a dream. She drinks some water and just like this thing is completely screwing around with her head. The reason for why it jumped inside of her mouth, definitely we're going to get into what that most likely was, what was all about later on in this review. Will wants to throw away his wife's things and thinking that it's basically making Sawyer have visions and stuff like that. Sadie is mad. I've always thought the father's distance in this movie was really strange. I don't know what was up with him. Why was he being so distant? I thought that maybe he had something to do with this boogeyman thing. Like, well, what was up with it? Was it the something haunting him from the past? Was it the wife? Well, like, what was up with him being so distant? I always thought that was kind of strange. Maybe there was something I missed out on. If anybody can comment below, let me know. But yeah. So Sadie tries to speak to her mom's spirit when she's like in a basement, and she comes close to it, but ends up being like a complete illusion. So, I thought maybe the mom would have maybe come back as a spirit to help them deal with whatever's going on here. But then again, that would have been cheesy as heck. So, But Sadie seems to have grown apart from her pal Bethany. But they, decide to hang out anyway. They have a short talk in the bathroom and stuff like that. Bethany has become friends with, I guess, the more the popular girls. And, the last time they hung out was at Sadie's mom's funeral. So they decide to hang out again, and Bethany decides to even bring her friends, including the fake Paris Hilton that, completely messed up Sadie's dress back in school. So you can tell that this was not going to really go well. While they're smoking, Sadie ends up coughing up, and she just coughs really bad, and she ends up going to the bathroom. She coughs up her sister's tooth. So I'm assuming that basically when the boogeyman attacked her in the dream, it was really sticking her sister's tooth down her throat. Completely gross, but yeah. So this movie overall is giving me a lot of like themes of kind of similar to that movie Drag Me to Hell a little bit, with the creature haunting this girl, and then also the creature in general kind of looks like the monsters from A Quiet Place a little bit. Even when it comes down to them fighting the creature in the basement, it's kind of like similar to the way the Quiet Place ended. So I can see that they kind of felt like they kind of got those themes from those previous movies, I guess. They want to see a place that at the end of the friends, Bethany's friends, basically want to see the place that the guy, offed himself at, Lester, which I don't know why would they want to see that, but these are, this is a horror movie, so people want to do weird stuff. And Sadie ends up going to the room, but Sadie ends up getting herself locked in, and the boogeyman comes up again and attacks her. And she thinks that the girls were locking her inside, but they weren't. There's a bunch of confusion going on. And then Sadie just gets tired of the fake Paris Hilton girl running her mouth, and so she just smacks her, and they all get mad and they just leave her. And then after everybody leaves, unfortunately, Sawyer's left in the house by herself while she's playing a PlayStation. And this creature, Boogeyman, ends up attacking this poor girl yet again. This time he throws the poor girl into the plasma screen TV. Wow, this girl, like I said, she goes through a lot in this movie. Lester's wife, she ends up going to the hospital, but luckily she's all fine. She's all good. And Lester's wife ends up calling Sadie and says that she knows how to kill this creature. So Sadie ends up going to this woman's house. And before then, Will ends up thinking that Sadie's completely high and making up everything, which I don't know why would he think that Sadie would make up her sister being thrown into a TV. I don't know why would she think that. But anyway, Sadie ends up going to Lester's wife's house, and she ends up setting Sadie up as bait for the boogeyman to attack Sadie, so she can end up wounding the boogeyman creature by using Sadie as bait. And the plan seems to work. She ends up using Sadie as bait, and she ends up taking her shotgun and shooting this boogeyman creature. I don't know what this thing is, if it's some type of creature, like a spirit, or I'm not sure what it is, some type of physical entity that can pop up anywhere, but the plan works, and she ends up shooting with the shotgun and wounds it. And she talks about, yeah, she was able to finally stop it, but the thing attacks her. Now the woman is begging Sadie to help her out. This creature just basically tears her apart, and then it ends up trying to attack Sadie, who ends up leaving, running out of the house after being saved by one of the lights that she kept in her house, that Lester's wife kept in the house, and she ends up leaving out. Sadie ends up getting a call from her dad and finds out that her dad and her sister are back from the hospital and they're home. And Sadie tries to warn them to not basically go home, but the creature is already there and yanks them inside the house. And while, the sister Sawyer sees all this, like I said, she goes through a whole lot in this movie. Sadie comes home and the lights are totally out. Sawyer is safe inside the closet with the Christmas lights wrapped around her. She's completely smart and found some way to be able to find Christmas lights. She can definitely survive almost, it seems like, any horror movie. This little girl is super smart. And but the father is taken, and he's taken somewhere down in the basement. And Sadie says that basically they can stop this thing because it can bleed. She finds out from when the Lester's wife shot it, so she finds out this thing can actually be hurt. They go downstairs in the basement. They find the boogeyman in the basement, and Sawyer is, of course, knocked out again. This girl constantly keep getting hurt. A battle ensues down in the basement. The creature starts to suck the life out of Sadie, but when it stops, it ends up getting hurt. So Sawyer runs and pulls the plug on the lights, unfortunately, by accident, completely makes it all dark in there. Like I said, the creature was, attacked Sadie, was almost going to kill her. It was had something in its mouth where it can and also I can tell they kind of got that from It, when it comes down to the creature having this type of weird face thing where it can reach a hand out of its mouth. This thing is, yeah. Sadie ends up flicking a lighter, and let me see. While they are all together, they get the dad. The dad, he hurt himself, but they're all able to finally get together. Sawyer has her spray can, and Sadie has her lighter, and they basically work together to create a flamethrower type of thing to set this creature on fire. It runs away. Then, unfortunately, the can goes out, and then she just realizes that she has to set it on fire. So Sawyer ends up getting some some gasoline, and tosses it on the creature. They set it on fire. It completely burns up. It even burns all the vines in the house. Unfortunately, the house ends up being burnt down, and then I'm guessing that they're going for a theme of letting go, I guess, and learning to mourn, I guess, and get past certain deaths by when we see that the mom's dress ended up being set on fire too. So I guess the one of the main themes of the movie was you know mourning some a loved one, and I guess maybe somewhat moving on from the past, kind of like how the one Paris Hilton looking chick earlier in the movie from school was talking about her, talking about Sadie's mom and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that this is sort of a theme of the movie is healing from the past and dealing with trauma and stuff like that. This movie was basically sort of like a more of a lighthearted version of Hereditary. If anybody ever seen a horror movie Hereditary, they know how dark that movie was. This movie was clearly a more lighter tone version of that too, a little bit. Let me see. Will also opens up to the family therapist about being scared of being a father and about how when the wife was dying, he had to basically step up more as a father because he wasn't prepared for it all. So this movie also shows his transformation as becoming a better father, becoming more connected to his kids. And then basically towards the end of the movie, after the therapy session, the family leaves, but Sadie is called in back by the therapist. She comes in and finds out that the therapist didn't call her in. So it's hinted that this creature thing might still be alive in the closet, but Sadie decides to just close it, and that's the end of the movie. So I thought this movie was pretty average, average typical horror movie. It's PG-13, so I don't expect for it to be too crazy. It was okay. I don't have much to say about it. Most of these actors in this movie I've never seen before, except for Lester. I saw him on the Suicide Squad 2 years ago. But other than that, this movie, majority of actors in it I've never seen before, which I love seeing. I love seeing new actors I've never seen before, and hope they have long careers ahead of them. But the movie was okay. It was an average typical horror movie. I mean, there was a Boogeyman movie that came out when I was a kid, so um it was pretty average movie, nothing really spectacular. I give this movie like a 2 out of 4. It was all right. It wasn't too scary. Some you can, anybody can watch Home Alone. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of horror. I'm not into really like that, but I want to check out something in honor of Halloween. So this movie was pretty average. Average movie. I could feel some of the themes that they got from other movies. Like I said, it felt like a little bit of Drag Me to Hell, a little bit of it, the creature it. I kind of got that from this movie. The creature also looked like the monsters from Quiet Place a little bit. So it was a decent movie, pretty average, run of the mill movie. And yeah, if you like this movie, if you like my review, like, comment, subscribe, share the video for reviews of the latest movies coming out in a year. This year, next year, whatever. Thank you for watching my review, and thanks for watching Watch Darius TV.